Happy Friday, everybody. It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community. As I mentioned, it's Friday, June 14th. Hope you're doing well, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend ahead. We'll keep this video short, but in this video, we're going to be discussing the alcohol industry and how it compares to the MJ industry. We're going to be talking about who makes more money in the alcohol industry. Is it producers or the retailers? And something that's been coming up a lot lately on my channel and in the community and around the MJ industry is I'm seeing a lot of people comparing retailers to producers. And to me, it's just silly. It doesn't even make any sense. Why are we comparing producers to retailers in the MJ industry just because they're in the MJ industry? We should be comparing retailers to retailers and producers to producers. Just like if you were looking at the alcohol industry, you wouldn't compare an Anheuser-Busch or a Budweiser to a Total Wine and More or a retailer. It wouldn't make any sense, right? And the closest thing that we have to the MJ industry is the alcohol industry, right? They have excise taxes. It's a very similar industry. And that's ultimately where we'll end up. It will be treated just like the alcohol industry, in my opinion. But, I see people comparing like MJ companies to McDonald's. I see like the Costco comparison. I see Dunkin' Donuts I've even heard of. Like, why are we comparing MJ to those industries? It has literally, it couldn't be the furthest thing from one another, right? Like they're so different. And the thing that would make the most sense would be alcohol. So we're going to be discussing all of that, who makes the most money in terms of alcohol producers or retailers. And we'll jump into all of that and more in just a moment. Before we do, though, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. And if you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, all that good stuff, and you'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. As always, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, and you should never buy or sell anything based on anything that I say or write. Also, you can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. And just in case we ever get censored here or shut down on YouTube, I've seen people get shut down on YouTube for a lot less than covering a Schedule 1 and a legal drug at the federal level. So, I've seen people with crypto accounts get their accounts shut down, covering crypto. So, just follow us over there. I really do appreciate it. And we're also on Rumble as well. And speaking of X, I did post on X yesterday. I said, food for thought. To be clear, I own both MJ retailers and producers, right? I'm not a maximalist of any of those toxic maximalists in crypto or MJ. I see it all the time in crypto, but now it's in MJ as well. You got MSO gang. That in itself is pretty silly. There's going to be winners and losers both sides of the border. We got Constellation Brands investing in Canopy. We got, Altria and Kronos. We got Imperial Brands in Oxy. You've got, what's the other one? British American Tobacco and Organogram. Why are these billion-dollar corporations investing in MJ companies in Canada if they're not worth diddly squat? It doesn't make any sense, right? There's going to be winners in the U.S. There's going to be winners in Canada. There's going to be winners in producers and retailers, and there's going to be winners and losers abroad, right? Aside from Canada and the United States. So we just have to drop the maximalism and the toxic, tribalism and like this cult mentality. Like it's so, it just gives our industry a bad rep, right? Like imagine being a maximalist of Apple and thinking that, only Apple's the only one worth owning. You can't own a Microsoft or an Amazon. Like that's just silly, right? Like it doesn't even make any sense. Like any really like sound investor would tell you to diversify, not over diversify because you don't want to stretch yourself too thin, but diversification is key, right? And you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. Whereas now, we're in the MJ industry, it's so toxic. It's kind of frustrating, but at the end of the day, that's just people wanting to pump their own bags, right? And quite often people have been burned in the MJ industry. So I'll cut some people some slack, but at the end of the day, it's time to grow up and act like an adult, right? We need to face reality, and there's going to be companies that are winners and losers. That's just the cold hard truth. So I said the beer manufacturer Anheuser-Busch InBev generated global revenue of over $59 billion US in 2023. And then this was on Google. I just asked this to Google. In 2023, though, Australia's Dan Murphy's ranked as the leading wine and liquor online store worldwide, generating approximately $429.2 million US dollars in e-commerce net sales that year. UK-based Naked Wines PLC came in second place with an estimated $362.3 million in e-commerce net sales. Naked Wines operates in the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia. So as you can see, it's not even in the same ballpark, right? It's not even comparable at all. But then I did ask Grok, which is X's or formerly Twitter's AI bot, I said, which alcohol retailer had the most revenue in 2023? And let me know in the comments, like, do you even know? Like, the only thing I could think of was like Costco liquor, but I couldn't even think of a retailer in alcohol other than like maybe like an SNDL, because I'm in Canada here, like a Ace Liquor or, you know, a Liquor Depot or something like that. Wine and Beyond, I was thinking of that, but you know, in terms of like globally, I couldn't even think of any. And then I asked Grok, I said, which retailer had the most revenue in 2023? Based on the information provided, Total Wine and More was the largest alcohol retailer in the US in 2023 with revenues of $6 billion. Okay, so $6 billion versus $59 billion. Does it mean that producers are the only thing to own in the alcohol industry? Or does it mean that retailers are the only ones to own in the alcohol industry? Well, no. Can you own both? Yes, you can. Would it be smart to own both? Well, absolutely, because the retailers work with the producers in the alcohol industry and they rely on one another, right? And as you know, in the MJ industry, a lot of companies got into retail. Canopy Growth was one of them. And a lot of other companies like Hexo said that, you know, which is now Tilray, they merged together. They said that, you know, being in retail and a producer is the wrong way to go about it. It's either one or the other. And then you even see retailers that are dropping like flies, right? Like think of Fire and Flower, right? Just because you're in the retail industry, just because you're in retail in MJ doesn't mean you're going to win, right? Fire and Flower was only retail and they failed, right? And then High Tide is doing really well, but they're kind of, you know, a diamond in the rough. They're kind of challenging the status quo. But all I'm saying is, and my point is a lot of people read the thumbnails or my titles of my video. I shouldn't even just put my point in. I shouldn't even put the topic in my videos anymore in the thumbnail or in the title, because people read it and they think they know exactly what I'm saying. Like one person commented on my video and said, "Oh, that's an easy answer. High Tide is better because I made a video saying is High Tide better than like versus LPs?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, High Tide's better." It's like, well, no, you didn't even watch the video. Like if you watch the video, the whole point was that they're both very different, and comparing the two is almost like silly, right? And you can own both. I own both. In fact, I think it's smart to own both, right? Because they work hand in hand. And, you know, like I said, these retailers, both in alcohol and MJ, they work together, right? They have a vested interest in one another, and they want to see each other succeed, right? So then I asked, who makes more alcohol producers or retailers? And Grok said, based on the provided context, it appears that in terms of market share, alcohol producers have a larger share of the market compared to retailers. The information from the search results indicates that in 2023, beer, a product primarily produced by alcohol producers, accounted for an estimated 41.8% of the U.S. alcohol industry market share. Spirits, another product primarily produced by alcohol producers, surpassed beer for the U.S. market share supremacy based on supplier revenues. On the other hand, retailers who sell these products do not have a specific market share mentioned in the provided context. Therefore, based on the available information, it can be concluded that alcohol producers have a larger market share compared to retailers. And again, like it's not that difficult. Like, of course the producers are going to make more money. That's like saying, you know, Apple Computers is going to make less than Best Buy, who sells Apple computers. Well, obviously they're not going to make more money because they're taking Apple's product and they're marking it up and making a profit off of the markup, right? So it's impossible for them to make more money than the producers, right? So it's like comparing High Tide's margins, which was what, 28%, a little north of that, to like a True Leave, which was like 58%. Well, there's no way that a retailer is going to be able to get to that kind of margin unless they're producing it, right? It doesn't make any sense. So the moral of the story is, and I'm going to try to keep this video short, is there's going to be winners and losers in both alcohol and just like alcohol, but the same thing with the MJ industry. There'll be winners and losers with producers. There'll be winners and losers with retailers. And it just doesn't make any logical sense to compare a producer to a retailer. If you're going to compare anything, compare MJ retailers to other retailers. Compare MJ producers to other producers, right? And then also look at what they're trying to do. Are they in a few niche markets? Are they in a few select markets in the US? Are they in a few select provinces in Canada? Are they in international? Or are they in multiple continents, multiple countries, right? Like all of this is going to play a factor in the long-term grand scheme of things, right? So hopefully this video was helpful. And if it was, smash the like, share the video with your network if anybody might find value out of this. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Again, I'm not trying to come on here and act like I know everything, or, you know, I'm not trying to say that, you know, it's for sure, like there's not going to be, you know, there's always going to be that point in time where we just don't know, right? Like eventually we'll go through the motions and the industry will develop and everything will look so clear because hindsight's always 2020. But what I try to do is just to think outside of the box and have a longer term perspective and see it from all angles, right? I'm not a maximalist of any company. Like I own Canadian producers, I own US producers, I own Canadian retailers, I own US retailers, I own ETFs both in Canada and the US, right? And then eventually abroad, right? International companies as well as part of like an ETF, right? There's going to be winners and losers outside of Canada and the US. So again, like I'm not saying I have all the answers, but we can just look at it from the most logical, dumbed down version, like explain it to me like I'm 5 or think about it in a very layman's terms. And it's not that hard to figure out that, okay, the people producing MJ are probably going to make more money in the long term. The difficult question and the $1 million question is, who are they going to be? Who's going to be those blue chip companies that are going to be around in 10, 20 years from now that are going to be the Anheuser-Busch InBev or the Budweisers of the world, right? Or the Molson Coors of the MJ industry. That is the $1 million question. And then who's going to be the retailers long term? But again, I think it's wise to have a diversified and balanced portfolio and invest in a multitude of different segments in the MJ industry, right? Including retailers and producers. So hopefully this video was helpful, as I said. But going down it there, it's Rod with Pow Group. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth. Excited to see everybody's comments in the comment section below. We'll continue the conversation there. Like I said, hope you have a fantastic weekend ahead, and we'll see you again in the next video.